Captain Vince, you have to remind the pole people to only use one end of the pole, not both ends of the pole to turn us. This is why you wear stuff that goes right in the laundry. Right, so we're back. If you noticed, we turned there, there's a bridge down there at the far end. That bridge, of course, when this canal was in operation, would not have been there. That bridge would have been the location of lock 1W or 1 West. And that would have started our descent towards Harrisburg. So what do you mean descent? All right, well, let's do another little quiz here. If we were on a mountain and I said we were on the summit of a mountain, what would that mean? We're at the top, right? So what do we think it means if I say we're at the summit of the canal? We're at the top of the canal. We're at the very height. Everywhere we go from here is going to be down. So if we want to go to Reading, Schuylkill River, we literally have to drop 300 feet. If we want to go to Harrisburg on the Susquehanna River, we have to drop 200 feet. And you do that on the canal by a series of locks. They basically allow your boat to step down. So quick show of hands. Who got dripped on when we came through the tunnel? Yeah, everybody got dripped on, right? Everybody. All right, what if I were to tell you those same rocks that are above us, dripping down on us, are the same rocks that are below us? What do you think happened when they first put water in this part of the canal? It drained right out. So there was a fellow that was an engineer on the canal, and his name was Simeon Guilford. Guilford Street in Lebanon is named after him. And he devised this way to line the bottom of the canal all the way from Lebanon to Prescott with oak timber. The oak timber created kind of a bathtub effect, which allowed water to stay in the canal. However, what happens when you put wood in water for a long period of time? It rots, right? So after a while, they actually replaced the wood with clay, and the clay actually created that bathtub effect. If we were coming through here when the tunnel was first built, I will tell you right now, we would be inside the tunnel. That was the original entrance when it was built in 1827. Later on, the canal company enlarged the tunnel. This other piece that you're seeing on the right-hand side, that was something that was done in the 1930s, long after the canal ceased operation, and it was in there because it was part of the Civilian Conservation Corps of the Roosevelt administration trying to put people to work. But the original tunnel was back there. But when the enlargement happened, the tunnel actually went from being 730 feet long to 629 feet long that it is today. So, remember, as I said, I got to tell you about the star drill. I didn't get to that piece yet, so we'll come back to that. I want to show you that when we get to the other side. Bear with me as we get to that story. So, earthquake fault is now on the right-hand side of the boat. It comes down the right-hand side here. That's the same earthquake fault that we saw on the other side that we came in. All right, and remember, those straight lines are star drill lines. Every time you see one of those, that would have been an explosion of gunpowder, because they would have drilled one of those holes and they would have packed it with gunpowder, and they would have set off that gunpowder to help clear some of the rock. I will tell you that there are 4 deaths associated with the construction of the tunnel. All 4 of those deaths happened at the same time. There were 2 Irish work crews that were working in here, and they were working on the ceiling. They were making the ceiling higher. They actually drilled some holes deep enough to put gunpowder in. They packed them with gunpowder, and either the fuses weren't long enough or they didn't run fast enough, but the explosion went off. It actually buried those workers, and unfortunately, it resulted in the 4 of their deaths. Those are the only deaths associated with the construction of the tunnel. It did take 2 years to complete what you're looking at here. So the original 700-foot-long tunnel, it took 2 years to build. There were crews that started on both ends. Keep in mind, this is a time before lasers and computers. And when they met in the middle, they were less than 1 inch off from being directly even with each other. Pretty amazing given the time and the technology that existed at that point. So 2 years to complete this. When the tunnel was completed in 1827, it actually opened the canal up all the way from Reading to Harrisburg, and then on to Harrisburg to Reading, and then on to Philadelphia. Does anybody remember how long it took William Penn to get out here? Does anybody remember how long I said? How long? 3 weeks, you're right. When this canal opened, instead of taking 3 weeks, you could get from Philadelphia to Harrisburg in 5 days with 25 tons of cargo. So this really was the super highway of its day. It was really the Pennsylvania Turnpike of its day, because there was no other way to transport goods and services. The railroads hadn't come yet. The only other way you could move goods and services would have been a Conestoga wagon. Conestoga wagon, you would have needed 5 tons of cargo, would have needed 6 horses or mules to move it. All right, as we exit on the side here, I will point out 2 plaques on the left. One of them denotes that we are a National Historic Landmark, the other that we are a Civil Engineering Landmark. And Captain Vince, we might want to pick it up. We want to get you guys back before whatever this looks like's coming gets here. So we'll increase the old speed of the lowest miley here and get you back to port as quickly as we can. Real quick before we do that, so anybody notice the tunnel was probably not wide enough for 2 boats to get through, right? So if you were a boat on this side and you wanted to go through, you wanted to make sure there wasn't a boat on the other side that was going to come through, right? How do you think you communicated at that point in time, let's say in the 1830s? There was no telegraph, there was no telephone. I heard somebody up here say seashell, so bear with me a second, I'm going to show you. Anybody know what this is? It's called a conch shell, or it might be called a shell phone, because you wanted the boat on the other side to know. You picked up your shell phone, you dialed ahead, and you did something like this. That way the boats on the other side knew you were coming. They'd make sure they stayed clear. Allowed you to get through. All right, we're gonna go to the top end at the lowest mile you can do, because I feel a little spritz coming on. So Vince is gonna motor us down through here. Couple real quick things. So at the height of this canal operation, there was as many as 100 boats a day coming back and forth on this canal. Not long after the canal was completed in 1827, the canal company actually built a feeder canal all the way up to Pine Grove along the Swatara Creek, because they wanted to tap into something important in Schuylkill County. You might say, Ed, why would anyone want anything in Schuylkill County? Anybody have any guesses of what might have been up there that they wanted to tap into? Yeah, anthracite coal. It's going to help fuel the Industrial Revolution in the United States. So they built the feeder canal all the way up to Pine Grove to be able to tap into those coal fields. I'm going to lose my hat here, so I'm going to put that down there so it doesn't blow away. They built the feeder canal all the way up through there to be able to tap into the coal fields. That immediately became the #1 revenue source on this canal. So besides coal, the other #1 revenue thing on here was going to be timber. All the cities on the East Coast had cut down all their timber because they were needing to do it for building. So they were out of building supplies, so immediately coal and timber were some of the 2 key things that were being transported on our boats. The other things would have been any kind of things related to agriculture, so goods coming from farms going to the cities, finished products from the cities coming back to the country out here. The other thing I will share, the very first steam locomotive in Lebanon was brought in by canal boat. All right, that's some foreshadowing. It's going to help you answer my next question. So this canal is in operation, but it's going to fail ultimately. There's 2 major reasons for the failure of this canal. Anybody want to guess? Railroad is #1. 1857, the Lebanon Valley Railroad is completed. That's the line that runs through town today. So 1857, that's done. And in 1862, there's a major flood in Schuylkill County. That flood destroys the northern tier of the canal, destroys access to the coal fields. So you have competition from the railroads, and you have the ultimately losing the revenue caused the canal to fail. In 1885, it filed bankruptcy. All right, I'm going to pause because we're going to get in here as soon as we possibly can. Thank you for joining us. Be safe. We'll get you off here in a second. We'll get you squared. You'll be all right, bud. We'll get you off here in a second.
Definitely got money for it.
Let's get the boat held and get the folks off as soon as we can. Let me scoot back here. Just let me scoot by you. I'll be right back.
Sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Thank you.
Get us pulled over there. Sorry about this. Didn't turn out the way we wanted to. Sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much.